Om. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karuna Alayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram. So 30 verses we have completed. Tasmat Swarupa Vijnanam Vyaparena Vasutha Tatastena Sakshatcha Dvidam Samprachikshate. So there is Tatastha Lakshana and Swarupa Lakshana about the truth. So one is through attributes, know the truth, the Ashraya support, and other is by Swarupa Lakshanam. Okay. Now, same. Punascha imamartham tribhi shlokaihi spashtayati. In the next 3 verses, this thought is being again reiterated with giving us more clarity on this subject, the Tatastha Lakshana and Swarupa Lakshana. Tata Swarupamastrayam prahuhu vyaparam tata lakshanam Vrutya Vijnaya Tanmulam Ashraye Pratitishthati. He Tata Swarupam Ashrayam Prahuhu. Hey my dear child, Swarupam Ashrayam Prahuhu. So ultimate conclusion again, reiterating, again restating that same fact with more clarity. So therefore Swarupam is Ashraya, support. What is that? Swarupam, one's own essential higher nature, the self, is the Ashraya or the support. Vyaparam Lakshanam Prahuhu. The entire Vyapara Lakshanam. What is Vyaparam? Srishti Sthitilaya, Tirodhanam, Anugraha. All these activities, transactions, expansion, creation, etc. Lakshanam Prahuhu. This is Lakshanam, attribute. Right? Having said this, Vrutya Shakti Vyapara Lakshana Para Paryaya Vrittipada Vachyaya Vijnana Vritya. Now, Vritya, see, Vritya Vijnaya Tanmulam. Vritya, what is Vritti? Shakti Vyapara Lakshana Paraha. What is Vritti? Vritti is thought. Aham Vritti, Idam Vritti, etc. That what is a thought we have seen already? It is Shakti Vilasa, created by Shakti. Okay, Shakti Vyapara. It is an activity undertaken by Shakti. So that becomes Lakshana, attribute. So the creation, etc., is the attribute to recognize that there is a truth, Ashraya. Because Niradishthano Brahma Kvachit Ikshate. Na Ikshate. See, if there is no Adhisthana Brahma, Ashraya, there cannot be any creation. Without any screen, there cannot be any movie. So, this thought which is rising, it is called Shakti Vyapara, an activity of Shakti. Paryaya Vritti Padavachaya Vijnana Vritya. What is the Paryaya Padam for that? Other word for this activity, Vijnana Vritti. Vijnana Vritti means the knowledge in the form of a Vritti, thought. So Vijnana Vritti, thought of the knowledge. So Vijnana Vrittya. So, whatever knowledge we gain, it is only through thought. So, Vijnana Vrittya, with the help of the thought, which is helping us to know the worldly transactions, worldly objects. Tan moolam, vritti udayasthanam iti yavat. Tan moolam, vritti moolam. Vrittya, vijnaya, tan moolam. So this thought is rays come. With that thought, vijnaya, realizing, vritti moolam, the source from which the thought itself has sprung. Vritti udayasthanam, the source from where the thought rises. Udayasthanam iti yavat. Vijnaya, avagamya. That is, having known, come to understand the support, the source of the thought. What is that? Ashraye, lakshye, vastu swarupe, satye, pratitishthati. So when you understand the moolam, the origin of the thought, when you discover, it will go and merge in the swarupa, which is ashraya, which is lakshya, which is the indicated, which is the truth. Lakshya, vastu swarupe, in the very essential nature of the vastu, atma vastu, in the truth, satye, pratitishthati. This thought goes, observes the origin after meditations and all that, after long sadhana, it gets established in itself. Pratitishthati. Pratitishtato bhavati purushaha iti adhyaharyam. So we have to add purushaha. Who will establish purushaha? The seeker of the truth. The purushaha will establish himself in himself. In that sarupam, he will establish. Purushaha iti adhyaharyam. This to be added. Anena vrittehe shaktehe lakshanasya vyaparasya va prayojanam uktam. Now, what is the benefit? What is the purpose, prayojanam, of this thought, which is introverted, inquiring the source of it? Vrittehe lakshanasya vyaparasya va or vyaparasya prayojanam uktam. What is that? Vritti moolanveshanena sahankara vinastidvara. So, by inquiring into the very source or origin of the thought, by inquiring the very source or the origin of the thought, sahankara vinashtidvara. When we inquire the origin of the thought, see, the ego is thought, I thought. Now, so far, since millions of our lives and existence, this I thought is only extroverted, entertaining itself by turning its attention to the outer world. Okay. Now, the ego, which is carrying the whole lot of experiences, objects, everything in itself. So slowly when this is removed and found out the very origin of the thought, the ego itself will disappear. Because ego, by inquiring the origin of the thought with the same thought by ego itself, it slowly goes in finding out its own source. The ego will be destroyed. So when the ego is destroyed, tan moolam vastu swarupam brahmatma samspurti jwalitam hrudayam prapyate. Then what happens? The thought merges in itself. Then one realizes aham asmi, brahma eva aham asmi, brahma atma aham spurti jwalitam hrudayam. So brahmatma aham, not jivatma aham. Aham brahmatma iti jwalitam hrudayam prapyate. Jwalitam hrudayam means shining heart he experiences. He attains that shining heart. That heart which shines, Hridayam, with the realization, Brahmatma Aham, not Jivatma Aham. Iti spurati, prapyate. The spuran, that's that shining, spurti, the source, spurti, jalitam hrudayam prapyate. Iti atraiva granthe saddarshane Sri Ramanaya nibandeshu anyeshu cha shatashaha upadishtam iha jnapyam. Here we have to remember, we have to come to know, we have to remind ourselves, we should know that once the origin is investigated, then one's own heart, it shines as Purati Hrutsvayam Paramapurna Sat iti. Atraiva Granthe Saddarshane cha. Sri Ramanaya Nibandeshu Anyeshu cha. In Saddarshana, in this Grantham, plus also Saddarshana, plus also in other works of Ramana Maharshi, he very clearly says, Spurati Hrut Swayam Paramapurna Sat. So when we inquire who am I, and all the objectivity from the thought is removed, from the Ahankara Vritti, Aham Vritti, and it goes in discovering its own origin, then one day the ego is destroyed, then Aham Brahmasmi, Brahmatma Aham, not Jivatma. Iti Hrudaye Spurati, Jwalantam Hrudayam Prapyate. The shining heart with this understanding, realization is attained. This is what Ramana Maharshi told, declared in all his works. This has to be Jnapyam. This has to be remembered. Swarupat Udayaha Vrittehe Vilayascha Tatreva eti Swarupa Ananyatve Vrittehe Siddhe Ubayoho Tadatma Sambandha Upapattim Aha. Now see, Swarupat Udayo Vrittehe Vilayascha Tatreva eti Swarupa Ananyatve Vrittehe Siddhe. Now the thought which is rising from the Swarupat Udayo Vrittehe Vilayascha. The thought which is rising, which has sprung from the Swarupam, when it is merged in itself, in its own source, Swarupe, Ananyatve Vrittehe Siddhe. When it discovers Ananyatvam, non-difference or identity, the little ego, the thought, has merged and discovered its identity with the higher self. If that is achieved, vritte siddhe, ubayoho tadatma sambandha upapattim aha. Then we will realize that identity between these two. The thought of aham, vritti, when discovered, then Shiva, Shakti or whatever it is, identity between these two is established. Right? Like the wave rises from the ocean. Wave is different from the ocean. Where in the name, the function, shape, size, and its life, everything is different. Wave, its birth, existence, death, size, shape, property or quality or characteristics are all different from the source of ocean, which is ocean. The size of the ocean, size of the wave. The attribute of the ocean, attribute of the wave. The Janma existence, Srushti Sthitilaya or Janma existence and Mrityu of the wave, its time, existence, and the ocean, totally different. But all the while, as water, there is an identity, even the wave is functioning, it cannot be separated from the ocean when it is existing as a wave. Number one. The substance with which the wave is made up of is not different from the substance with which the ocean is made up of. But as long as the focus is on the wave, so long the wave recognizes other waves as separate from itself. And then there are some bigger waves, smaller waves, etc. Compares. But so long the samsara, this externalization will continue. But this little wave recognizes its source. Where is that I have come from? What is my source? Within the span of the wave life, which is very for few seconds, in that few seconds only, wave has its own samsara. But within that time period, the wave recognizes that in essence I am the ocean. That is called identity is established between the wave and the ocean. Similarly, the vritti and its source. Because what is a thought? Thought is equal to object plus consciousness. What is an object? Objects also are created by Shakti. What is Shakti? Shakti is none other than Shiva or Ashraya. But it's only in ignorance that this thought is different, that thought is different from object, etc., all differences. That's what he says. When vritti and its source is merged, vritti merged in its source, the identity between these two is established. But there is no difference. Okay? Now, Swarupat Udayo Vritte Vilayascha Tatra Vayete Swarupa Ananyatve Vrittehe Siddhe Ubayo Tadatma Sambandha Upavattim Aha. Swarupam Lakshano Petam Lakshanam Chaswarupavat Tadatmye Naiva Sambandha Svanayo Samprakirtitaha. Now we say, so Swarupat Udayo Vrittehe Vilayascha Tatreva Sit Swarupa Ananyatve Vrittehe Siddhe Ubayoho Tadatma Sambandha Upapattimaha. Having said this, just now we saw how the identity is attained. Swarupam Lakshano Petam. Important. And Lakshatvat Lakshatvat Lakshana Yuktam Bhavati. Now, what is Swarupam? Atma Swarupam. The Swarupam Ashraya, etc. Now, that is called Swarupam, higher self. It is Lakshanopetam. Lakshana dwara, it is known, recognized. Lakshana upetam. So through Lakshanas, I come to know the source, that there is a source. That is indirectly knowing the truth. So Swarupam is always with some attributes, in the sense, during the creation. When it's samchar, Shakti samchar, Swarupam is with attributes. One thing. Swarupam Lakshanopetam. And Lakshanam cha Swarupavata. And attributes always go with Swarupa. Attributes also go with Swarupa. Because these attributes indicating whom? Swarupa. And Swarupa is known by what? Attributes. And these attributes, if you understand, it takes us to the Swarupa only. Because these attributes belong to Swarupa. And Swarupa is expressing through its attributes during the Sushti Kala. Therefore, both are to be seen as one and the same. That's what it says. Tadatmena eva sambandha. So, Swarupam Lakshanopetam Tasya Lakshatvat Lakshana Yuktam Bhavati Lakshanancha Swarupavat Tasya Vrittirupatvat Ashraya Bhotavat. So, what is this Lakshana attribute? It is nothing but Swarupam. Why? Because the Swarupam is its Ashraya. Lakshana Ashraya is Swarupa only. Like whatever Lakshana you take, it is what is the Ashraya for that? Paramatma. Like Yato imane bhutane jayante ena jatane jivanti. This is also oft quoted in Upanishads and other Vichara, Vedanta Vichara. It is Tathatha Lakshana showing. from which all beings are born, that in which they exist, that unto which they merge. So these are indicate what? There must be some adharam, karanam. Without karanam, karya cannot be there. Therefore, that indicates some swarupam, the adharam. So therefore, this is indicating that. And that is recognized by us only as swarupa. First of all, truth is there. How do we know that there is something adhara? By swarupa lakshana. So swarupa is recognized in the lakshana. We have already seen there are two ways to know the truth. First, tatastha lakshanam and swarupa lakshanam. First, tatastha lakshanam we have to know. And how long tatastha lakshanam to practice? We have already seen that. Tatastha lakshanam, vritti jnanam has to practice till you realize the truth. That we saw yesterday itself. Therefore, lakshanam cha swarupavata tasya vritti rupatvat ashraya bhutavat ye evam anayoho swarupa lakshanayoho vritti ashrayayoho vyapara vyaparavatayoho shakti shaktayoho tadatmayana eva sambandha parikirtitaha. It is very clearly shown, said very clearly, Swarupa and Lakshana, between Swarupa and Lakshanam, Vritti and Ashraya, thought and its support, Vyapara, Vyaparavataha, the activity and the source of that activity, Shakti, Shaktayoho, Shakti and Shakta, the one to whom it belongs to Shakti, Shiva and Shaktiyoho, Tadatmena eva sambandha parikirtitaha. There is an identity established. It is said that there is a firm identity between these two. Okay. Now, tadatmyam cha tad bhinnatve sati tad abhinna sattatvam. Abhinna sattakatvam. Now, very important is that tadatmyam cha tad bhinnatve sati tad abhinna sattakatvam. Now this bhinnatvam, difference, very important is that what is identity? Identity is an undivided. There is no difference at all. There is no difference at all between these two. Okay? There is no difference between these two. Undivided. So therefore, identity is what? There is no division between these two. What is identical is different. What is identity is different. Identical means two. Identity is only one. Therefore, when these two, what is an identity? Identity is nothing but homogeneous existence. Between what? Between two apparently seen different things. Between two seemingly divided objects, seemingly divided objects, apparently seen as though they are different, the two different objects are there. Like for example, ornament and the gold. So, as though, like mud and the pot, as though they are seemingly different, because the properties of pot is different from the properties of mud. But essentially, mud is the pot and pot is the mud. Same mud, when it is taken, shaped in the form of a pot, its properties change. It has its own size, name, and function, utility. But this is mud, that is mud. But why can't mud also hold the water? Not possible. So, like two different objects you take. Mud pot and mud glass or mud others object. Mud cup or mud saucer. Again, these two are seemingly different. But there is actually the substratum, if you take, samanadhikaranyam. If you say that, substratum is one and the same, mud alone. But here in the mud and, the between pot and the other cup, I am showing it as two differently, widely different objects, separated in space and time. In space at least, if not in time. But how do you differentiate between the mud and the pot? No differentiation. So sad ekavema vastu, ekameva advitiyam vastu. Therefore, even though that bhinnatve sati, even though the apparent divisions are seen, its satta is one and the same. The vritti, the wave and the ocean, apparently different, seemingly different objects. But essence is the same. That's what he says. Between vritti and tad adharam, tad ashraya satta. Tadatmyam cha tad bhinnatve sati, tad abhinna sattakatvam. But we have to see the iha lakshanasya sarupat bhinnatve sati. Iha lakshanasya, that is, tadatmena eva sambandha tu anayo sampakyatah. Iha lakshanasya sarupat bhinnatve sati. Sarupat abhinna sattakatvam vivakshitam. So, this is what I already said now. Iha lakshanasya sarupat bhinnatve sati. So, undivided. The apparently seen lakshana and sarupam bhinnatve sati. But what happens? Sarupat abhinna sattakatvam. In essence, there is no difference between the ashraya and ashrita, the gold and the ornament, mud and the pot, vritti and its adhara. Essentially, it is how the vritti is Paramatma. We have already seen. There is only ekam vastu. Only one vastu alone is there. There is no second vastu. Ekameva dvitiyam Brahma. Okay. Now, that vastu alone, we have already seen in the chapter that Shakti and Shakta. Are the Shakti Vichara, are they different? No. So, when they are not different, so there is abhinna nimittopadana karana. So, what is a thought actually is equal to, as I already said, thought itself is an offshoot of consciousness, but holding in its womb an object. So, we say thought means of a particular object. Otherwise, we don't call it as a thought. Because thought word used means in its womb there must be some object. So we say, what is a thought? If you say thought, of what? We question. So of what is an object, an idea, a notion? Okay. All the notions or ideas or even the objects are all again created by Shakti. And Shakti is inseparable from Shakta. In all this understanding, the identity between these two are to be established. It is established. It's to be realized, of course. Is established in Shastras. So, vritti swarupayoho parasparam ananya bhavaha palitartha. Therefore, there is no difference between vritti and swarupam. Activity, vritti is activity or thought. Thought is an activity, an offshoot of that. This is to be realized. So, tatastha lakshane naivam vyaparakyena marishaha yato laksham swarupam syat nitya vyaparavattatah. See, tyataha yasmat, since it is so, these two identities yasmat evam ukta prakarena. As explained above, vyaparakyena tatastha lakshana swarupam laksham lakshayutam shakyam syat. So with the above expression, we can say, through tatastha lakshana, the swarupam can be indicated. It is proved. By tatastha lakshana, swarupa can be indicated. Okay? Like Gurudev used to give examples, so many people are there. So I ask someone, bring so and so person. Then he will ask me how to identify. Then I tell him the color of the skin, the kind of hair he has, kind of dress he normally wears, what is his height and how does he look, what is facial features, how does he walk. The specific attributes only belonging to that individual. That's called Tatastha Lakshana. So I search for that. Oh, tall man, 6 footer. Fair complexion. Sharp nose, sharp nose. Normally wears this particular dress or that particular dress. And walks very straight, very straight. Walks fast also, very fast also. With this data, I start identifying the person. Therefore, through Tatastha Lakshanam, it is possible to indicate the truth. That's what I said. Tataha, thereafter, tasmat tat sarupam nitya vyaparavat pravrutti nivrityatmaka vyapara sampannam nitya shaktamiti yavat bhavati iti vakyasheshaha. Now this vyapara, pravrutti and nivritti. Nitya shaktam. In that Ishvara, this pravrutti and nivritti both continue. The Srishti comes out, merges, comes out, merges, comes out, merges. Like in ocean, pravritti, nivritti. Ocean comes out, wave comes out, merges back into. Wave merging back into ocean, nivritti. Wave rising from the ocean, pravritti. So this nitya pravritti, nityam, this process is nityam. See, vyaparakyena marisha. Marisha means a worthy, a respectable man. Vyaparakyena nitya vyaparavat tataha. Nitya vyaparavat. Therefore, we say this is called, there is no ending. Beginning for Srishti, ending for Srishti is not there. Keeps on rising. We don't say it has just started recently. No. It has been happening. Anadi, beginningless. That's it. So, nitya vyaparavat tataha. Bhavati iti vakyashesha. So, again reminding us the earlier slokas. Sarvepi vyabharoyam na bhavet shaktimantara na sustir napi vijnanam yadetat tripati mayam. This is sloka number 28 or something. 29. Tripati mayam, 25th verse. This verse is quoted here. Yadi kalena bhavita jagata pralayo mahan iti sloke cha shaktya sarva vyavahara siddhihi. In this, yadi kalena, and this is also said in the earlier sloka, in 24th verse, he also quoted here again. Yadi kalena bhavita jagata pralayo mahaniti. In the time when the entire thing is pralaya, when whole jagat happens at once time, or some lokas are merged, some lokas are not merged. So all that was discussed earlier. So iti slokecha shaktya sarva vyavahara siddhi. What has been proved in these two verses? That every vyavahara siddhi, the very activity or this entire creation, sustenance, that is Srishti Sthiti Laya, Tirodhana, Anugraha, all these 5 activities are being conducted possible only through Shakti or by Shakti. Sacha Shaktihi Nitya iti Pratipaditam Ihasmaryam. It is to be remembered that Shakti is always seated eternally, existing eternally in the self. So Shakti cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. It is always there eternally, Nitya Swarupastha, where rooted in his own Shiva. Are there two? No. Both are one. Okay. Now, evam Bheda Vijnanasya Moolam Upanyasya Adhyayante Slokadvayena Purushasya Jignasoho Abheda Drushto Eva Satyatva Buddhi Syaditi Iti Bhavana Siddhat Jagataha Drushtim Vinivarya Sarupe Avasthanam Paramam Padamiticha Paramakaraniko Bhagavan Maharshi Prashtaram Nimitti Krutya Satya Jignasalokam Sarupavimukam Vidhatam Anugruhnati. Now, evam Bheda Vijnanasya Moolam Upanyasya. Now, having taught us Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi the Moolam, the source of the Bheda Vijnana, that is knowledge of the manyness, all rooted Shakti and Shiva, this mainly two, this Bheda Vijnana. Moola Upanyasya, the source is one and the same. Adhyayante Slokadvayena, in next through slokas, which is the end of the chapter, Purushasya jignasoho abheda drushtoya satyatva buddhi syaditi. Of the one who is actually having developed only abheda drushti between Shakti and Shiva, between Vritti and Swarupa, which is Adhara. One who develops this abheda drushti, there is no the drushti which is of oneness, not manyness. One who cultivated this, to him that satyatva buddhi syatiti. For him alone, this realization of the truth is possible. Buddhisyat iti bhavana siddhat, having it is proved, jagatoha drushtim vinivarya, because it is no established. This bhavana siddhat, this thought is firmly clear now. One who dissolves the bheda drushti alone realizes the truth. Having said this very clearly, jagataha drushtim vinivarya. So, from the world, the drushti, the vision, from the externalization, external world, vinivarya, having withdrawn our external drushti vision from the external world, swarupe avasthanam paramam padamiti, and resolving back, withdrawing our drushti from external world and keeping it in our own self, that is the supreme state. Iti paramakarunako Bhagavan Maharshihi, the very compassionate Bhagavan Ramarshi, prashtaram nimitti krutya, keeping the questioner as a nimitta, like Arjuna, Arjunam nimitti krutya, Bhagavan aha, keeping Arjuna as a nimitta, Bhagavan taught Gita, knowledge to the world. Similarly, prashtaram, the questioner, keeping questioner as a nimitti krutya, satya jignasu lokam sarupahimukam vidhatum. And all those, the people who are spiritual seekers, satya vijnana lokam sarupahimukam vidhatum, in order to turn their attention, all of their attention towards Swarupam, he said, is anugraham in the form of two concluding verses. He said this, Vyaparo vastuno nanyad yadi pashyasi tatvatah idanto bheda vijnanam sarvam kalpanikam matam. Now, tatvatah yatarthyena pashyasi yadi. If you really see this from tattvataha, in essence, in truth, in reality, tattvataha yatharthyena, yathartha swarupam, in reality, not carried away by the fancied creation. Tattvataha yatharthyena yadi pashyasi, if you see this, true from the standpoint of truth, in essence. What is that? How? Unmilatena antaschakshusha pasyasyadi. Close your eyes inside. Antaschakshusha, not bahishchakshusha. Antaschakshusha, by closing your eyes and deep meditation inside. If you see, dissolve all the differences. Yadi. Vyaparataha, vyaparo vastunaha anyat na. Then we see all this is what is nothing different from the vastu. It is only sarvam brahmam kalu. So everywhere sarvam kalu brahmevadam. So sarvam kalvidam brahma. That's also said. And Manisha Panchakam, what Shankaracharya says, brahmaivaham idam sarvam jagatcha sakalam chinmatra vistaritam. Its entire jagat sarvam brahma eva. Brahmaivahamidam jagatcha sakalam chinmatra vistaritam. It is nothing but expansion of consciousness. Sarvam cha etadavidyaya trigunaya maya asesham maya kalpitam. All these names and form differences are all things, endless creation, what I see. It's all maya kalpitam. Trigunaya avidyaya maya kalpitam. By the ignorance of three gunas, by three gunas, which is source is ignorance which is of the three gunas, of the nature of three gunas, I have created all this world. So who created the Jagat? You created your Jagat. So somebody asked a question to Gurudev long back. Why God created? Why all these problems? Why this world is I'm seeing? So Gurudev asked him, why did you do this mischief? He was confused. मैंने क्या किया? So, actually, as I said earlier also, none of us are living, that will come later on, in Ishvara Jagat. We are all living in the world which we have created. We are never out of the world which we have created. We are always living in our own creation, never in the Ishvara creation. So, showing your world which you have created, you complain, why God created this world? God says, I never created your world. Why do you blame me? I never created. So if you really see my world, you will not see difference. You will see only Brahmaiva Ahamidam Jagatcha Sakalam Chinmatra Vistaritam Sarvam Chaitada Vidyaya Trigunaya Sesham Maya Kalpitam. The one whom Yasya Dridamadihi, the one who has got this firm conviction, Chandalostu Satudvijostu Gururityesha Manisha Mama. He may be Chandala or anyone. Dvijostu Brahmana, but he is my Guru. That's what it says. So, Unmilitenantaschakshusha pashyasi yedi. If you see, Vyaparaho vastunaha anyat na Veda bahulasya Vishaya prapanchasya vritti prapanchasya va karta vyaparaha shaktyakyo vastu swarupat na bhinnaha bhavati ityartaha. That's it. All this is which is created, Veda bahulasya, so much different varieties of differences. Vishaya prapanchasya, of this world which of sense objects. Vritti prapanchasya, which is all the world of activity or world of thoughts. Or karta vyaparaha, the one who is doing all this, vyaparasya karta, one who is doing all this. Who? Shaktyakyaha, which is called, created by something called Shakti. Swastu swarupat na bhinnaha bhavati ityartaha. It is not separate from Vastu swarupam, Brahma swarupam. Tasmat satsu bhedeshu Swarupa Vyaparajanyeshu Abhedam Vastu Swarupam Drashtum Arhasi Iti Adesha Bodhyaha. Therefore, while very much the differences are present in the waking world, while differences are experienced, the Bodha, the teaching is see the identity, see the oneness. So, see the oneness, this instruction is given only to the one who is seeing the differences. One who is already seeing oneness, why should he be told, see one everywhere? That is redundant. Therefore, Tasmat Satsu Bhedeshu Swarupa Vyaparajanyeshu Abhedam Vastu Swarupam Drashtum Arhasiti Adesha Bodhyaha. This is Adesha. Katham tarhi, then how is it possible? Idam sarvam bheda vijnanam abhedat satyavastuna siddhyati iti chet aha. But how is it possible? All this bheda vijnanam, this entire knowledge of variety, manifoldness, creation. But from alone, same truth, everything you has come, you say only one alone without the other. But how come from that one, everything has come out? This much of variety, samsara. Siddhyati chet aha. Idam sarvam, next slokam mein. Idam sarvam bheda vijnanam tu kalpanikam matam. This entire duality, manyness, creation of multiplicity is only kalpanaya kritim iti uchyate. It is only an imagination. It is a kalpana. Kalpanaya kritam. It is only imagination. Like we imagine many things sitting in the world and we live in our own world for some time. Unless somebody comes and shakes us up. We get lost. We say, where are you lost? I create my own. In Tripada Rahasyam, all those things will come. One Mahayogi is doing tapasya. To meet him, some king went. But he is in deep samadhi. So he said, came here to darshan, but when will Mahatma come out? His son was there. His son said, Sir, my father has been there since so long, I don't know when he will come out. Hope he will come out. If you want to stay for some time, you can stay and try your luck, he said. He said, okay. Sir, why do king? He told the king. You are getting bored. Come, I will show you my ashram. And he heard the king and he took him through the wall. And there he saw so beautiful big ashram and then so much of beautiful, huge description. And then there is sadhaka, this is there, that is, he is also there. All wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. After a few minutes of seeing the entire beautiful thing, he said, no, let's go back. His father must have come out. He came out and he already passed thousands of years. He said, what is the time? The son said, like after your kingdom, there are so many kings' lineage have come and gone. But if I just went half an hour only, that is not half an hour, it is a time difference. In another loka, I took you. But which loka? I created. We were shocked. Then this Mahatma got up, Mahamuni. He is my son only, Mahayogi, this fellow. He creates his own worlds and he roams around. Time pass ke liye. So he took you into his own world, which he created. And you spent only half an hour or so, but is equal to huge time lapsed here. So not only Ishvara, Mahayogis also can create their own world, time pass ke liye. They can roam about for time pass. Vishwamitra also created Pratisrushti. Now we don't know Vishwamitra only, but there are so many yogis. So create. Tamasha hai sab. Magic within the magic. So therefore, isam sarva bheda vijnanam. Kalpanaya krutimuchyate. So jnatuhu vishayenaha eva bheda vijnanam sambhavati. Jnatra adhinatvat jnanasya. Now jnatuhu, that is vishayenaha eva bheda vijnanam. Now bheda vijnanam, the knowledge of the difference, meaningness is possible only to whom? To the knower. To the seer, one who is seeing this. Without that the seer or knower, this knowledge of the multiplicity, manyness is not possible. Knower should be there. Why? The knowledge is depending always on the knower. So, jnatru adhinatvat jnanasya. So, jnanam is always depending, knowledge is depending always on the knower. Jnatru adhinatvat jnanasya. Kalpanaya bheda vijnana kartutve pratipadite vishaye jnata eva bhavati samashrayah kalpanayaha. So kalpanaya bheda vijnana kartutve pratipadate. When it is proposed and declared that all this knowledge of duality is created, multiplicity, manyness is created only by kalpana, out of imagination, kalpanaya. So vishaye jnata eva kalpanayaha samashrayah bhavati. Vishaye jnata. Vishaye means the jnata, the knower alone. Kalpanayaha samashrayah bhavati. The total samashrayah, the total kalpana, total, the combination, the collection of the entire kalpanayaha samyak ashrayaha. Only jnata alone is the ashraya for the entire kalpana. Because jnatru adhinatvat jnanasya. Therefore, Ramana Maharshi always says, to whom this is happening? To whom? Because the knowledge is only depending on the knower. So, who is this adhara for this kalpana? Jnata. Who is Adhara for your own imaginations? You alone. You alone. You are imagined. You imagine all silly things in life, funny things in life. Who is imagining? You. So who is the Adhara support for your imagination? You. Therefore, कल्पनायाः समाश्रय भेद विशिष्ट वृत्ति विक्षेपात्मकं ज्ञानमेव कल्पना कार्यम. There is one vritti which has got the speciality, ability to create divisions and manyness and differences. Therefore, Bheda Visishta Vritti, one Visishta Vritti is there, which is capable of creating the division. Thought itself is division. So that divides. Vikshepatmakam jnanam. The knowledge is Vikshepatmakam. Why? Knowledge is of the world, objects are plenty, and I get the knowledge of this object at this time, second object of this time, second time of this object, third object is in third time. So Vikshepatmakam, my jnanam also Vikshepatmakam. Meaning, it is constantly changing. Why? The worldly objects are there. Maybe objects may be replaced in front of me, or I'm exposed to different objects in a moment to moment. Therefore, my knowledge of the different objects, Tadakara Vritti. Therefore, Patanjali Maharshi, Vritti Swarupyam Itaratra, he says there. Very beautiful. Vritti Swarupyam Itaratra. Otherwise, Tada Dastu Swarupe Avasthanam. Third, Vritti Swarupyam Itaratra. There are only two conditions. Either you are established in your own self and put an end to all divisions, or Vritti Sarupyam, that is, Itaratra, in other places, you Sarupata, you attain. Vritti will attain Sarupata. So whatever object you see, you become that. The Vritti takes the shape of that. So Vritti is taking different objects being experiencing, moment to moment. So mind is constantly, the thought is constantly changing. It's like so many ways we can see. It's a different colors, different shades, different colors of different shades. Each color in multiple shades and different colors. All is a big, huge, and combination, whatever it is, are constantly projected on the screen, and they are moving in microsecond, changing from one color to other color, other shade to other, constantly changing. So I give this example. In desktop, in laptop is not happening nowadays. In olden days, if the computer is not used, on the screen, some object will start moving on the desktop. If you see that object, because you are not touching, screen is in offside, so it goes into that pickup mode, and it goes and touches the edges and comes back, constantly changing. You see on the screen. Whenever I used to see that, it changes its colors, size, shape, direction. Everything is changing. Size, shape, color, direction. Did I miss anything else? What else is there now? Everything is changing. That is our thought. Our mind, sorry. Vritti Sarupyam Itaratra. Therefore, it says, Bheda Visishta Vritti Vikshepatmakam Jnanameva Kalpana Karyam. It is all that Jnanam is only Kalpana Karyam. Kalpana done by Shakti, Shakti Karyam, Kalpana imagination, work of the imagination. Kalpana cha bhavanaya anarthantaram. Okay? Arthantaram means different. Anarthantaram means same. Kalpana kaho ya bhavana kaho, same. Tataha vrittireva kalpana. Therefore, thought itself is imagination. Kalpana. kalpana yaya vishayakartaya bedabahulye avasthatum ishyate. The thought wants to establish Vishayakartaya Bheda Bahulye Avasthatam Ishyate. Bahula Bhede, so much of variety. It is by taking the different objects into its cognition, it is only establishing itself in the outer world in the midst of many, many objects. The thought is always floating in the Bahulye Avasthatam Ishyate. Tadrushi Vrittihi Vishaya Vimukhataya Swayam Nivritya Moolam Pashyet Yadi. The thought of which is of this characteristic, this attribute, such a thought, Vrittihi Vishaya Vimukhataya, turning away from these sensory objects, Swayam Nivritya Moolam, once withdrawn and establish it, the entire thought. See, all the thoughts, idam vrittis are born from, we have seen already in Ramana Geeta. Idam vrittis are all, ashraya is aham vritti. Aham vritti ashraya is suddha aham. So I recognize all the thoughts are rolled up into me, and then that is the source. I found out the source of it, aham vritti, as swarupam. Pashyet, moolam pashyet yadi. If you see the origin, Swarupaakarataya avasthaya sarvam abhedam pashyati iti tatparyam. Once this thought is established in moolam swarupam and exists as swarupam, from that swarupa standpoint of view, everything is seen as abhedam. There is no difference of whatsoever. Everything is me alone. That's what Upanishad says. Okay? Iha ahankritam vishayanam uddishya tadgata kalpanayaha vritti vikshepatmaka vishaya bheda vijnanam nishpaditam iti ataha asya bheda darshana hetuho ahankari vishaya dehya parapariyaya jiva padavachasya bhavayato bhavana bhavati yacha iha kalpana iti uchyate. Here ahankritam vishayanam uddishya. This is ahankari. Ahankari Vishayanam, not this Mola self. Vishayi, who's Vishayanam? Vishayi, Ahankari. So, Ahankari Vishayanam Uddishya. So, we are addressing the Ahankari Vishaya, subject, which is ego. Tadgata Kalpanayaha, and all the imagination born out by ego. Vritti Vikshepatmaka Vishaya Bheda Vijnanam. All that vritti vikshepam or agitations in the form of thoughts producing bheda vijnanam, knowledge of the variety, nishpaditam iti ataha asya bheda darshana hetuhu. So who is this bheda darshana hetu? Who is the cause of this ahankari jiva? Ahankari vishayi dehya paraha ahankari. Who is vishayi, the subject, which is ego. Dehya paraha, one who is identified with the body, paryaya padavachasya, otherwise called as paryaya padavachasya jivasya, is a jiva, embodied one. Bhavayatuhu, one who is always thinking of the objects. Bhavana bhavati. All this world is bhavayatuhu bhavana bhavati. This entire world which we are ahankari jivas, bhavana, kalpana, he himself is creating. Now the further analysis it comes. Bhavati. Yacha he kalpana iti uchyate. That is called kalpana. Natu sarvam jagat jiva kalpana iti yuktam. Now very important. Not everything is in the jagat is jiva kalpana. See, natu sarvam jagat jiva kalpana iti uktam. Not the total world is not jiva kalpana. Okay. So what do you want to say? Jagad Vishayaka Bheda Jnanameva Jiva Gatam Iti Khatanena. See, Jagat Vishayaka Bheda Jnanameva Jiva Kalpanam. The knowledge of the difference is Jiva Kalpana. Ishvara may created vastus. But Who is getting the knowledge of the difference, that this is different from that is different, manyness, variety? That is Jiva Kalpana. Ajnani Kalpana. Okay, I will tell you. Very simple. Simple example is enough. Why complicate? All the ornaments are created by the goldsmith. Okay. So goldsmith created all the ornaments. And he is not caught up in the illusion of the gold ornaments. Okay. He sees everything as gold. If you choose a ring of, say, about 2 grams or 3 grams or 5 grams, suppose, or 3 grams ring, 4 grams ring, he will suggest, why did you take this ring very bad? Because he knows this is little half a gram more. He will try to sell that. Why? What he says, what he is seeing? Gold. Who is Ajnani? Customer. What he sees? Difference. So difference is customer kalpana. He is caught up. He sees gold. Who? Jnani. Goldsmith. He is not bothered. He is not bothered. Even if you take Rama's vigraha of the gold for selling, he will put Rama in a high temperature, that pan, and he will melt him. Ayo, Ramji, you see Ram, I don't see anything there. I see only gold. I want to check the purity of Ram. How dare you? Check karna bhai. Then only I can tell you how much you get value. So we can value Ram. We can check the purity of Ram. Think. Therefore, natu sarvam jagat jiva kalpana yuktam iti yuktam jagat vishayaka bheda jnanam eva jiva gatam iti khatanena. By saying this, bheda bhavanataha bhavayadhu jivascha nivrittishyate. What is the jiva is withdrawing? Jiva should withdraw from his self-created imaginations. From withdraw from the world means what? From which world? That world which Jiva created out of his own kalpana. From that world we have to withdraw. Each Jiva has to withdraw. So I have created some of my world illusions, delusions. I must try to withdraw from the world which I have created. Not Ishvara world, Ishvara Jagat. You cannot withdraw from Ishvara Jagat. Ishvara Kalpana Jagat, total Jagat, he has to withdraw. That's what it says. Bhavayadhu jivasya nivritti ishyate. Tena sarupa avasthane labdhe tasya sarvatmakatvat bhedeshu sarveshu abhedam pashyati. By the jiva, Sarupa avasthane labdhe. When he is established in his own self, then tasya sarvatmakatvat, he becomes self of all. Therefore, Vedeshu Sarveshu Abhedam Pashyati. Because he becomes Atman of all, self of all, in all differences, he sees only Abhedam. Unity, he says. That's what? Etad Atmamidam Sarvam Tat Satyam Sa Atma Chandogya Upanishad. Therefore, Sayesha Anima Etad Atmamidam Sarvam Tat Satyam Sa Atma Tat Tamasi Sweta Keto Iti Chandogya Mantra. Ultimately, the unity has to be seen. That's what it says. Etad Atmamidam Sarvam Tat Satyam Sa Atma. Everything is Atma. That alone is truth. That alone is Atma. Atha Srushti Sarvapi Jiva Kalpana iti Mabhut Brahmaha Tada Aha. Therefore, let us not have any delusion that whole Srushti is Jiva Kalpana. May you not have that delusion that the whole Jagat is Jiva Kalpana. No, not. It is not. That's why, suppose you get a Mahayogi is there. And he becomes, like Ishvara, identity with Ishvara is possible. But he will not get Ishvara Shakti. If everybody realizes the truth and he get Ishvara Shakti, anybody can interfere, meddle with the creation. It goes out of discipline. Somebody creates, somebody destroys, tamasha chalta rahega. So there is Ishvara. Nobody can be Ishvara. Nobody can become Ishvara. Ishvara is Sarvashaktiman, Sarvavyapi. So identity is established as Chaitanyam. That is known. Upadhi cannot be replaced. Therefore, Shaktyullasahvaya seyam srushtisyadisha kalpana kalpane yamatita chet swarupam avashishyate. Shakti ullasahvaya. Ahvaya means called. Shakti ullasahvaya. Shaktehe ullasaha vilasaha vijrumbana rupaha. So something called which is called Shakti. Shakti is all ullasaha, vilasaha. Ullasa, emergence, exhibition, vijrambanam, expansion, pravritti vyapariti yavat. It's pravritti, outgoing activity. Ullasa means Shakti ullasahvaya. All this is Shakti vijrambanam, activity, expansion, creation, etc. Sa ahvayaha, abhidanam yasyaha. Name, ahvayam, name. So she is called that Shakti who is doing all this. Sa yam srushtihi paritaha drushyamanam vishwamiti artha. Yam srushtihi paritaha, from all round, whatever you can see, entire creation, drushyamanam. In fact, unseen world also she only created, but we don't think about it. We can see drushyamanam, paritaha drushyamanam, all round which we are seeing creation, this. Vishwamiti artha. Isha kalpana. Ishasya Vishwarupa Bhavana Bhavati iti Shesha. This world which you are seeing, the maximum world, total Jagat. Now, from that Jagat, you remove your imagination. What is our imagination on the Jagat? Panchadashi answers. Panchadashi says, the world is created. But what is Jiva Srishti? Jiva Srishti is Bhoga Buddhi. What is Jiva doing? He superimposes his sense of enjoyment according to his vasanas on certain objects. And he runs after those objects to get enjoyment and runs away from all those things which doesn't give him pleasure. A drunkard is there. Whenever somebody is offering a free drink, he will go there. A spiritual seeker is there. He doesn't want to drink. When somebody is offering, he run away from it. So somebody says drinking is good, somebody says drinking is bad. Somebody satsang is bad. So in the entire, somebody tastes this, somebody likes that, somebody dislikes that. So actually we are operating only in the world which is created by us. So, total Jagat, Ishasya Vishwarupa Bhavana Bhavati iti Shesha. All this world is Ishvara Kalpana. Total world is Ishvara Kalpana. Shakti Vilasa eva idam sarvam yad Ishvarasya Kalpanaya nishpaditam. It came out from Ishvara Kalpana. Shakti Vilasa. By his own Shakti, Ishvara created all these worlds for his own entertainment. Okay. Jiva Kalpana to Sarva Bheda Jnana Vritti Nishpadika. What is Jiva Srishti? Jiva Kalpana is out of, he creates, imagines all Bheda Jnanam. All the knowledge of differences is created by Jiva, and Ishvara created his own Shaktru Shakti. Shakti itself became the entire Kalpana. He himself imagined like that. He himself became support of this. He himself became everything. So, Jiva Kalpana to Sarvabheda Jnana Vritti Nishpadika. Jiva Kalpana means imagination of Jiva is creating differences. Sarva Bhava Sampadika to Ishvara bhavana iti bodhya. Bhava means, sarvabhava means not bhava padartha. All the padarthas, creation objects, worlds, universes, galaxies, all the objects, sampadikatu, all created by Ishvara bhavana bodhya. One, we have to understand all the totality is created by Ishvara bhavana. Sankalpa, imagination. Katamayam jiva kalpana, Ishvara kalpana yoho bedha uchyate. Then what is the difference between jiva kalpana and Ishvara kalpana? Kalpana samarthya bedat jiveshwaryo iti brumaha. The kalpana samarthya, the capacity to imagine is different from jiva and Ishvara. Kalpana samarthya. And varieties of kalpana. What is jiva kalpana? Sarveshu vedanteshu atmavit purusha vakyeshu cha jiveshwaryo abhedam pratipadayatsu katamayam tayo beda uchyate. In all Vedanta Shastra, so what is the Ishvara jiva kalpana? Only capacity to project, imagine. Because very simple. There is a beautiful slide which I use it for. What is that? You are limited by your vision. Beautiful statement. तो इतना यहाँ तक की सोच पाओगे. So you are limited by your own thinking. You cannot imagine beyond that. Jiva. So to do even kalpana, there must be some support, some idea, some notion, then only you can imagine. So children cannot do kalpana of a big house, big car, a credit card, debit card. They don't know. Their incapacity is there. They can't imagine. They are very child. Like the jiva also cannot imagine many things. Ishvara kalpana is akanda brahmanda koti. Leela brahmanda, what you call srishti. Leela kalpita brahmanda mandala. Brahmanda mandala. The hosts of universes she created out of Leela as a sport. We cannot imagine all those things, Our imagination is only confined to our own thinking. Our limited. So, Sarveshu Vedanteshu Atmavit Purusha Vakyeshu cha Jiveshwarya Veda Pratipadaya. In all Vedanta Shastras and also by all the realized people, when they told clearly that Jiva Ishwarya there is no Bhedam, Katamayam Tayo Bheda Uchyate. How can you say that there is a Bhedam, Kalpana Bhedam? Imagination, samarthyam, bheda and all. The bheda means like this. Prabhu Kinkarayoho iva tayoho ishitri ishitavya bhavena bheda grahyate. Like a master and the servant. Like controller and the controlled. Like that, this difference is there. Ishvara is controller, controlled. Master, servant. Yatha tayoho manushatva matram samanam. Both are human beings only. The controller and the controlled. And the master and servant, both are human beings only. As a human being, there is samanam. Tatha jiveshwarayoho samanam atmaswarupam. In essence, both are consciousness. That's what Tattvamasi Mahavakya explains. In Vakya Vritti, it explains. As Chaitanyam is same, but not with the powers. In essence, both are same. Ekasya eva atmaswarupasya sarvabhava sampatti pratipadikam ishavasya srutim adhyaya adau udahritya tam pravritti parataya nivritti parataya cha upapaditavan. Bhagavan Ramana pehle only in this chapter, he quoted Ishavasya Upanishad, Ishvara Shabda, Isha Kalpana, all those things created, bringing Ishavasya Shruti, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yadkincha jagatyam jagat. That's what he said. So, Nivritti Parataya cha upapaditavan. Pravritti Parataya Srushti, Nivritti Parataya to know the. Ataha Jiva Atma, Parama Atma iti dvau Atmanau vastutaha nastaha. In reality, there is no Jivatma, Paramatma as vastu. In essence, both are Chaitanyam only. Yadyapi Shakti Paramyat Ishvaraha Sarvajnaha Sarvashaktaha Bhavati Jivaha Kinchidajnaha Alpashaktihi Bhavati Shakti Vilasa Sadhita Sarga Apekshaya Eva Tayoriva Tat Kalpanaya Uscha Bhedaha Vartate. Jiva is Sarvajna, Alpajna, Ishvara is Sarvajna, Ishvara Shakti is Brahmanda Kalpana, he can do. Jiva Srushti, Jiva is with small Kalpana. In that only there is a Bheda Vartate. Tathapi Jivaha Pavrutyayeva Kalpanataha Nivruttaha. Even then, if the Jiva is withdrawn from his own Kalpana, Nivruttaha Swatmaswarupe Avastatum Shakto Bhavati. But he is capable of withdrawing himself from this entire his own created world of thoughts, withdraw from this Jagat of variety and establish himself in his own self, then recognize that this consciousness is not different from the Ishvara Chaitanyam, but it doesn't become Ishvara in terms of power and Shaktitvam and all that. But the consciousness-wise is same. Swatmasura avastatam shakto bhavati. He becomes capable of establishing himself in himself. Tada aha uttarardhena. That's what said. Iyam kalpana ya isha kalpana sushti rupini shakti vilasakya ukta. This entire Srishti, which is called a Shakti Vilasa, expansion of Shakti, is Ishvara Kalpana. It is Ishvara Kalpana. Ishvara Kalpana is different, Jiva Kalpana is different. So Ishvara created Srishti is Kalpana. Jiva is creating his own Srishti is Kalpana. Jiva is bound by is Kalpana. Ishvara is not bound by is Kalpana. We are bound. Sa atita chet atikranta chet swarupam avasishyate. If you can transcend this Maya, this creation, variety, then you will also establish yourself in yourself. Atma eva avasishtaha bhavati. Then Atman alone remains. Bedhatmakam atmanaha anyat nashtam bhavati ityartaha. That means all the differences other than Atman, everything is destroyed. Destroy means they don't destroy. The difference buddhi is destroyed. Then I can see only, like in all the Murdeva Satyam. That's it. Vacharammanam vikaro namadheyam Murdeva Satyam. Murtikatyava Satyamiti. That Upanishad Vakya. So, Vedatmakam Atmana Anyat Nashtam Bhavati. Khatam Isha Kalpanam Brahmanda Srishtim Atitya Sthatam Kopi Prabhavati. Who is possible to transcend Isha Vishwara Kalpana, which is Brahmanda, and establish oneself in oneself? Stula Vishaya Karataya Parinatanam Murtinam Upasamharena iti uchyate. Don't worry about, because entire Brahmanda is where existing in your thought. Brahmanda is existing, Ishvara Kalpana. But all the Brahmanda, all the Srishti, how to transcend Brahmandas to know the Ishvara? So imagine, all the Brahmanda is existing in your thought. You are entertaining the Brahmanda as real, as different, comprising different objects. Therefore, you are caught up. And in those different objects, you imagine, project your own Sukham and Dukkham or utility value, and some objects you don't, dislikes you project, then you are caught up. So by withdrawing your own thought from your own thought, yourself from your own thought, which the thought is carrying the whole universe in the thought. That's what it says. It is possible to know, to go transcend the Ishvara Srishti also, to establish yourself in your own Atman. Tadahi Tadahi tasam ashtrayaha vastuswarupam brahmatma bhavena purnam aham iti spurat hrudayam sadeva sarvada sarvatra bhasate. Therefore, tada, then he tasam ashtrayaha vastuswarupam. Tasam ashtraya, all these different varieties of objects that support vastuswarupam brahmatma bhavena. Brahma, I am the Brahma, Brahman is me. This kind of thought, aham, it is purat hrudayam. In that hrudayam, I, shuddhaham, spurati hrutsvayam, sada eva, always, sarvada, sada, always, sarvada, sarvatra bhasate. Sarvatra, everywhere, every time, every place. This shines as me, and that is realization. That alone is the end of the journey of the jiva. Then afterwards, whatever it is, it happens. Thus we completed 12th chapter. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai.